All right, welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast, episode number 227. My name is Brendan Lowe. Thank you so much for being here. In today's podcast, I'm going to be focusing on upper structure triads. Upper structure triads. So essentially 3 items that I'm going to be going over. Number 1 is going to be what they are. Okay, number 2 is going to be how to use them and implement them. And number 3 is going to be how to use them in a way that you can start moving forward and making more progress with them, because a lot of times we get stuck in the process of upper structure triads, but we don't really know how to move forward with them in implementing them. So this podcast goes out to Jean. Thank you so much, Jean. Jean Corsair, I think, is French. And Jean, je suis très heureuse d'enregistrer ce podcast pour vous. Okay? D'accord? So, Jean, thank you very much for submitting your suggestion. If you guys have any suggestions, definitely, I'm always open to suggestions. I do have a long list right now. I'm just kind of going down the list, and this one is for Jean, who I'm assuming is French. So, with that being said, here we go. So, podcast, upper structure triads are going to be as follows. So, if we have an upper structure triad, any sort of triad can create colors in our chord. If I play a C7, for example, C7 right here, just root position. Now, if I take a triad, now for those of you who don't know what triads are, again, they're going to be 3 notes, right? So if I take a triad, let's say a D major triad, I'm going to be creating a certain set of extensions that are going to be getting played from this particular triad, right? So what extensions am I playing here? Well, let's take a look. D is going to be the 9 of the chord. F sharp is going to be the sharp 11 of the chord, and A is going to be the 13 of the chord. So, if I am to memorize that, when I play a C7 and I play a D major triad in my right hand, I can get this color, then I'm kind of golden. Anytime I get to a C7, I can take this chord, this D major triad, it's just a triad, right? And get these certain colors out of it. Now, for beginners, this is a really, really easy and quick way to start playing really great, amazing jazz chords, right? So I could do this. Again, I can kind of voice these in different ways. I'm not going to get into this just yet, but if I voice it like this, if I arpeggiate it, I can make it sound a little bit different as well. So these upper structure triads give us certain sets of colors, right? In an easy to implement fashion that we don't really need to think that hard about. That is the whole purpose of an upper structure triad. Essentially, it's a stepping stone. Let's take another one. This is going to be the 2 major triad. Now, when I say 2 major, I'm talking about in relative to the chord I'm playing. So if I'm playing a C7, my C is going to be the 1. So the next note up is going to be the 2. Okay, and I'm just going to go up the Mixolydian mode here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1. Now let's say I was playing a minor 7 chord and this was Dorian. My notes would change here and my degrees would change. 1, 2, 3. Now I have a flat 3 here because obviously I'm playing a minor 7 chord, right? Now it's too bad that the notation software I use doesn't stack these in a traditional sense in thirds, but oh well, just look at my hands. Okay, so back to our C dominant example. All right, so here's another one. Flat 3 major triad is another upper structure triad. Okay, this is a really cool sound as well. Let's check out what colors that this upper structure triad gives us. It's going to give us the sharp 9. It's going to give us the 5, and it's going to give us the flat 7. Now, the really true color extension in this chord is really only the sharp 9. It's not the 5. These are just doubled chord tones, essentially. But what this gives us is essentially the sharp 9. So anytime I were to get to the C7 chord, I could play this. And I would get that type of sound. Now, again, this is an easy way to play extensions and colors without having to think quickly about where the flat 13 is, where the sharp 11 is, where the sharp 9 is, right? Let's try a different one. This is a great one. I love this one. This is going to be flat 5 major triad. Right? So flat, this is going to be sharp 11. So let me go back for a second. You're flat 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's flat 5. I'm playing a G flat major triad. This is just a triad. Right? So this is going to give me certain types of extensions. It's going to give me the sharp 11 over my dominant chord. It's going to give me the flat 7, which isn't an extension, it's just a doubled chord tone. And it's going to give me flat 9. Okay, so this is a particular type of sound I can get from working on my flat 5. Now I can also change the inversion, meaning if I flip this chord and I put the 5 on the bottom here, this is second inversion, I get this type of sound as well. And then I can resolve it, right? So again, what is an upper structure triad? Essentially, it's just a triad of some sort, right? Major or minor, it could be diminished too. There's so many of them. I don't want to give them all to you today. You can find that anywhere on the internet. Just type in upper structure triads. You'll get all the upper structure triads you need. What I want to teach you today is what they are, how to use them, and essentially why they are there for you to move your progress forward. Because a lot of people have misinformation about exactly how to use them and what they're for. All right, so I just want you to understand that these are a paint by numbers system, meaning if you completely rely on upper structures to play tunes, you're never really fully going to understand what the color of a 9 is, for example, or what the color of a flat 9 is, or a sharp 11. You know, if we picture each extension as a color, let's say a 9 is a red, and let's say a sharp 11 is a blue, right? Now, when you're painting, you could understand these colors in some sort of cookie cutter way, meaning like you have a blended color that's already pre-mixed for you. Think about a pre-mixed paint with red, blue, and yellow. Let's say the red is the 9, sharp 11 is the blue, and 13 is the yellow, right? When you go to a store, you're like, okay, this is what an upper structure triad is. It's going to give you this pre-mixed paint of those 3 colors. That's exactly what an upper structure triad is. It's a pre-mixed paint of colors for you to experiment with and play with. Now, the only bad thing about this is that you are stuck with a pre-mixed paint, meaning you can't change anything. You're handcuffed by the triad. That definitely sounds cool, right? It's easy to use, but it doesn't give you the freedom that most students want. Does that make sense? So for example, let's say I just wanted to play the sharp 11. Like I didn't want the other 2 colors. I didn't want my red and my yellow. I just want to play sharp 11. Most students who start by learning upper structure triads can't do this. Like if I were to say, okay, you know, Raf, go ahead and play a sharp 11 over a G flat 7 chord, right? Could you do that? Ed, go ahead and play a flat 13 over an E7 chord, right? Could you do that? So these are questions you're going to have to ask yourself. And a lot of times when we focus on upper structure triads, right? Sure, they sound cool. Okay, they're easy to use, but you're going to get handcuffed by them. And that's what I don't want to happen to you, because guess what? It did it exactly to me. It did it to me. I could only play upper structure triads. I could comp. But guess what? When I wanted it to be simple about things and just be very specific about the extensions I wanted to play, maybe I just wanted to play the 9 and shells. Right? So I went 9 to 5 to flat 13 to flat 9 to sharp 9. And then I went to 9, 13, maybe sharp 11, 3, 9. I couldn't do it, right? That's what you need to understand about these. Okay, let's get into section number 2. How do we use these now since I've explained them? Now, I don't want you to get the impression that I think they're bad. They're not. They're just a stepping stone, though. They're a stepping stone, and I teach them in jazz piano school to the full extent. There's series of videos inside our Success Path curriculum about using upper structure triads. And then as you get into the later stages, I'm starting to separate the extensions out of the upper structure triads so that you can paint with each individual color, ultimately leading to complete freedom over your playing. I want complete freedom over the colors I paint with. I'm picking and choosing every single color on purpose. I'm not using upper structure triads in any of the things that I just played. This is all complete creation in the spontaneous moment, which is what we're all looking to accomplish, right? So how do we use upper structure triads to actually propel us, right? So how do we use them as a stepping stone? Well, first you want to learn them, okay? I'm not going to teach you all of them today. That's very easily found on the internet, and I highly recommend you go find all the triads. Obviously, if you're a member of Jazz Piano School, just search upper structure triads, and you'll find lots of videos on all of them, all the possibilities you could ever need. But the way we can implement them, I'm going to give you 3 different ways, okay? Comping is going to be one and foremost. The number one thing that most people use it for is voicings, right? So if I were to play to C7, like I just did, let's go back to our original example. And if I take a flat 6, for example, I'm going to put this in second inversion. So now what do I have over this C7 chord? Okay, don't pay attention to the notation, okay, because it's not spelling it out right because I don't have the bass note in there. Okay, but this is C7, just shells here, 3rd and 7. So I have my my sharp 9, I have my flat 13, and I have my 1, my root here. Okay? Right? So when I comp, if I practice this voicing in all keys, so if I take my flat 6, right? And I want to practice this in all keys. So for example, my flat 6 here, and then I go to the key of F. My flat 6 here, right? Then I go to the key of B flat, right? I'm just playing all dominant chords here. Okay? And I just keep moving through the keys and I practice this. At that point, you'll have control over this flat 6 major triad. Okay, and this is just one of the triads I'm talking about. So when you go to play a tune, you can add that upper structure triad into your playing. Now, playing solo piano versus group is very different. If you're playing in a group, you can easily comp with your upper structure triads very easily and start to develop a really pro sound fast. Right? So I might be going. There was a lot of extensions in what I just comped, and all I was playing was a 2-5-1-6. I was playing G minor 7 to C7 to F major 7 to D7, back to G minor 7, C7, F major 7, 2-5-1-6. But the way I was comping was through the use of upper structure triads. So every chord I played was an upper structure triad. So I'm going to play it again. I'm going to play 2 minor 7 over my G minor. It gives us this sound. It gives us the 9, the 11, and the 13 over my G minor 7. In my left hand, I just have shells. I'm always just using shells for this demonstration. So here's my upper structure triad. And again, when you have the bass in there, it's going to sound much fuller. So you can hit your bass and then jump to your chord. If you're playing solo piano, if you're in a group, you don't need to do that because the bass player will be playing with you. So you can just play your rootless voicing here with your upper structure triad, just like this. When the progression moves to C7, I switch my upper structure triad to a new upper structure triad. So over my C7, I use 2 upper structure triads. And yes, you can do that. You can switch back and forth between upper structure triads. So I use my flat 6 and my flat 5. And you can switch inversions as well. You can go, here's my upper structure triad, second inversion, right, of my flat 6th. Here's my upper structure triad, my G flat major triad, but second inversion. You see that? So, right? I'm just kind of switching back and forth. I'm just moving up and down in triads. Again, I'm taking two triads, G flat major and A flat major. These are my two upper structure triads over this dominant chord, my C7 chord. Flat 6 and flat 5, and I'm just rotating between the inversions. Root, root, second, second, first, first, root, root. Here's what it sounds like with my shells now. I'll do it up here. I can't overlap my hands here, but here's what it sounds like. I'll start from second inversion here. Excuse me, first inversion. Okay, you can do that for any upper structure triad. You could rotate between 2 and flat 3. That's a really great sound. That's really cool, right? Okay, I'm playing my left hand every time so you can hear the full sound with the root and the shells, right? But anyway, back to our comping example. So I was rotating between two upper structure triads. So remember, my first one was my 2 minor over my G minor 7. And then I went flat 6, flat 5, and then back to the 6. I could do this. Now, these are top, like, your voicings don't get better than this. I mean, they can in certain ways, but like when you hear pros play and they're comping, like this is exactly what a lot of what they're playing is. This right here. But the reason people get stuck is because they watch YouTube videos and they want to learn this and get to their destination as quickly as possible without really understanding everything. And then they get stuck right here because they've learned upper structure triads and they don't know anything before or anything after. I just want you to ask yourself, is that you? Is that the place that you're in, right? Because it's not going to lead to the destination, the goal that you're probably looking to achieve. I'll tell you that right now. All right, so here I am, back in my example. Now I'm going to go to my F major 7, and again on my F major 7, I think I played the 2 major triad. I could have played a lot of different things, right? I could have played my 3 major triad. I could have had a sharp 5 in there, flat 13. I could have rotated them, right? Lots of different options. And over my 6, okay, I played my flat 6 triad, major triad. Okay, which here's my flat 6, right? Over my dominant, again, this is going to give me flat 13, root, and sharp 11. Excuse me, sharp 9. Right, so it sounds like this. The full progression sounds like this. So that is a way to comp using upper structure triads. Now, the other 2 ways that I want to talk about is solo piano, and this is very, very difficult. But when playing solo piano, like tunes, now slash chords I want to kind of iterate are slightly different than upper structure triads. Like, yes, you can classify them as upper structure triads, but for example, in pop and rock, like you'll see a lot of slash chords. So a slash chord, for example, maybe like a C minor, a progression might be like this. It might go down to B flat, right? So you still have a C minor, but now the bass note has changed. And then maybe it goes to D major over A. Right? So those aren't necessarily upper structure triads in the contents that jazz is talking about them. These are more in pop tunes, right? So I play C minor. You know, something like that. So you have the slash chord. See how on the notation it's giving slash chords? These are more slash chords, and you'll find these in jazz tunes as well, but they're not technically upper structure triads in the traditional sense that they're taught. So the other 2 ways that you can use these is obviously through solo piano. So if you find a melody note, and this is difficult to use, I don't really recommend this that much, but if you find a melody note on top that is an upper structure triad, for example, let's say my melody note was C over a C7 chord. So, what is this tune? I can't remember the name of this tune right now, but the melody stays on C here. So if my melody is a C, and it happens to be the highest note of my upper structure triad, I can voice my solo piano arrangement of my tune using an upper structure triad, right? Because the melody note happens to be part of the upper structure triad. So in this case, the upper structure triad I'm using is a flat 6 major and just an A flat triad, right? It's in second inversion though. Again, this is another reason that upper triads in general are so important to learn. A lot of my students, Brendan, why do I have to learn all my major and minor triads? Well, they're going to come into use a lot throughout your jazz journey. I promise you that, right? So if I'm harmonizing my melody from my solo piano tune, I can harmonize it in a really easy fashion just using my upper structure triad. So again, depending upon what the melody is, let's say the melody goes up to F here over my dominant chord, I could also use the same upper structure triad there. So it just depends on the melody and what you can fit in. Now, in the moment, to recognize that, it's really, really hard. And a lot of the other systems for voicing that I teach are much easier than this particular system. But I just wanted to explain to you how you can go about doing this, right? So for example, and if I were a bell, right? So this note here is going to stay on top. So again, over my dominant chord, I can use my sus upper structure triad, which is just a minor triad. Right? So here's our first chord. And then I go to my sus. And then I go to my 6 major. So I'm using 2 triads here, my 2 minor and my 6 major. This is an A major triad, right? A major triad, if I put a bass note here, this is first inversion. Sus upper structure triad, which is a D minor triad, 2 minor to 6 major. So I'm voicing my solo piano tune with upper structure triads. Now, do I think about this when I'm playing? No, I do not. Okay, and eventually you'll get to that point as well, where and if you work through the Success Path curriculum in Jazz Piano School, once we learn our upper structure triads, we start to pick out the extensions. I'm going to talk about that in just a second when I go to step 3. All right, but just wrapping up this, step number 2 is we can use it for solo piano. See how I arranged and harmonized the melody by using 2 upper structure triads. Here's the melody alone by itself. So now to add harmonization, I'm going to use some upper structure triads. So I use 2 minor, my D minor 7, D minor triad here, right? To A major in first inversion. That was an easy, simple way to harmonize because the melody note happens to be part of those upper structure triads. That's how I can easily start to harmonize solo piano tunes. Like I said, the process to recognize that is not easy. And I recommend to my students that they take a different path for voicing and arranging, which I'm not going to get into now, but for all the members out there, it's going to be the 2-hand voicing building system and my solo piano arranging system as well. Okay, you can find those in the mini courses and in the Success Path curriculum. Okay, so the third step to implementing and using upper structure triads is for improv, right? So let's take, if I were a bell, I love this piece so much. I can begin to approach improv. Let's just take a 2-5-1, actually. I don't want to get into that. Let's just take a 2-5-1, right? So we'll stay in the key that I was working with. If C7 is our dominant chord, right, would be in the key of F. So to improvise, I can start to create some out sounds using my upper structure triads, right? So let's say you're playing with chord tones and modes a little bit, and your soloing sounds like this, kind of bland, right? Now, I recommend that anyone out there and all my students can do exactly what I just did first. If you can't do that, then moving to the out sounds or any more complicated improv steps is essentially going to be going backwards for you because you're not going to have a foundation. But what I was doing there was just chord tones and modes. And again, that should be your first step to improvisation always. Chord tones first, and then adding modes as glue or connection, right? You should be able to do exactly what I just did over a 2-5-1. That was all chord tones. I can create a great solo just using all chord tones. Then I go to my next level, my next layer, which is going to be modes, which is the glue to my chord tones. And then I start to add in my bebop approaches, what I just did at the very last step. Anyway, back to upper structure triads. Now, I can quickly get to a new level of playing and a new sound simply by adding upper structure triads in. So if I take an upper structure triad over my dominant 7th chord, we'll just use 1 for now. Let's use our 6 major, because I didn't really talk about that much. I love that one too. 6 major gives us 13, flat 9, and 3. It gives us 2 extensions, 13 and flat 9. Right? And it's just doubling the 3rd here. I love this sound though. When I get to that chord, I'm going to use those notes to improvise with. Okay, check it out. I'm going to play it again. Already, I'm starting to add more colors, more tension, and some resolution into my improvisation in a really, really quick and easy way, right? Now, what I can do here with these notes, I can just bounce around from them. I don't need to connect them in any way, although you can, but you don't have to. You can just bounce around on them. Because you're going to resolve, you want to resolve. The key to using this is the resolution to the next chord. Now, the resolution to the next chord is my F major 7, right? So I can go... I resolve to the 5 of my F major 7. Now let's go a step further. Let's go to the D7 chord, the 6. Let's use a flat 6 upper structure triad now to solo or improvise over this chord. So if my D7 root position is this, my flat 6 will be a B flat major triad. So now I'm going to use these 3 notes to improvise with: B flat, D, and F. Okay? So I'll go from the beginning. So what did I do there? I just arpeggiated the upper structure triad. I just literally went up the whole triad and just kept going. So I played this into this. And then I can go back into my regular thing that I'm used to doing. Now what did I play there? Here, again, 3 notes, just using this 6 major triad, just an A major triad. Again, A, E, C sharp, A, E. I'm just arpeggiating and then resolving. Again, the musicality will come in after. Like I can do certain types of rolls. I can do octaves. You know, I can do that. I can do that, you know. And again, this is over my D7. Again, my B flat major triad. Now this takes obviously dexterity, technique, but these are easy ways you can do this. You can just go, right? You want to add spice, flavor, right? You can do some slides. Resolve to that F major 7 or the E. So improv is going to be the third type of way to kind of implement upper structure triads, right? So again, just to cover again the implementation. Number one is comping. Number two is solo piano arrangement. Okay, so anytime you're kind of like arranging solo piano, that's going to be one way to do it. And the third, obviously, is going to be improvisation. Okay. Now, finally, step 3 before I wrap up is going to be what to do next. What to do next after you've learned your upper structure triads and you can play them well. You know a lot of them for your minor sevenths, your dominant sevenths, and your major 7 chords. What do you do next? The next step is to take them apart. Take them apart because you want to be able to play all the extensions that are given to you in that pre-mixed paint by themselves. For example, if I play a dominant 7th chord, any dominant 7th chord I run into in a tune when I'm playing, it doesn't matter. I want to be able to play any extension I want on cue. I'll say that again. I want to be able to play any extension I want on cue over any single chord. 9, flat 9, sharp 9, sharp 11, flat 13, 13. And I want to be able to recognize it through all keys, right? B dominant 7, flat 9, natural 9, sharp 9, right? Sharp 11. Okay, you want to be able to recognize this the whole time. And then it just keeps going, right? Flat 13, regular 13. E flat minor 7, 9, 11, 13. This kind of recognition of playing will give you complete control and freedom to paint however you want, to play however you want, to express yourself however you want over any tune at any time, right? So when I play a tune, if I play a simple tune like All the Things You Are, I can add any color I want at any time. And this is the level you want to strive to get to. Enchanté, Jason. This is the level you want to get to, after upper structure triads. So if I were to play All the Things You Are, I can add the 11 whenever I want or the 13. My first voicing could be this. And then I move to my next voicing. Maybe I do this. And then I go to my dominant 7 chord. Maybe I go simple. Maybe I go lots of extensions. All right, maybe I do this. I love this color. A lot of people wouldn't actually play this, right? But sharp 11, flat 13 are great extensions to put together. Now again, what is this that I'm playing right here? This is my E major triad, right? This is an upper structure in itself, but I added an extension to make it more colorful, the sharp 11. So again, All the Things You Are, right? Colors, shapes, movements. Right? This is what leads to true ultimate expression. This is what leads to complete freedom over playing anything you want, however you want, in solos, in improvisation, in voicings, in compings. Once you start with your upper structure triads, you need to literally break them apart. And you need to isolate every single extension by itself and learn them alone. So you can learn how they interact with chords. You can learn how they function in chords. You can develop a relationship with them to the harmonies by themselves, not with other colors, not in a pre-mixed formula, not in a cookie cutter upper structure triad, right? Because you'll find beauty in that. You'll find inspiration in just using one color. One color by itself is gorgeous, right? And once you can start to develop a relationship with different colors by themselves, you can combine them however you want, and you'll start to feel and find that you're developing your own expression, your own sound based on what you want. And that, my friends, is absolutely priceless, right? Because then your own voice is coming through on the piano. What you want to say is coming through on the piano. And you're not copying anyone else. You're not just using upper structure triads like you found on the internet, right? Your own soul is able to come out through the music, and you're able to express anything that you want at any time. If you're happy, you can express that. You can pick the colors that you choose. If you're sad, if you're hesitant, if you have anxiety, stress, right? All these things can come out, and it's a succession of learning steps that hardly ever gets taught, nor do you find in the internet, because it's a swamp of information. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, go to jazzpianoschool.com to check out all of the free information, education that we have, all the other educational podcasts we have, Lick of the Week, blogs. Obviously, if you want to take more of a next step with all the education that I have to offer, become a member. We do have a membership option available, and I'm going to be doing in-person coaching, education, and teaching to a limited group of people come the fall with my team of educators that will get the highest of highest levels of education from us in an intimate group setting. With that being said, I hope you guys had a fantastic day, and as always, happy practicing.